Go it. Sweet.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the TapeHead Massacre podcast. I am one half of your hosts. My name's Caleb.
And I'm Tyler. Welcome back, guys. We're now halfway through spooky season. Is that about right? Yeah, we're like officially halfway through.
Yeah.
Kicking, living. We started a bit late today. I was talking about how if anybody out there knows what it's like to not have a car, even for like a good 12 hours. It's only been 12 hours since we haven't had a vehicle. We went from 2 down to 1, getting the tires fixed. Now we're down to 0. And the lack of control one has without a vehicle, you don't realize it until you don't have it.
Dude,
You
it's
don't know,
terrible.
in the words of, I forget who it is, you don't know what you got till it's gone. I think that's a shitty 80s hair metal song.
Oh,
lyric,
it definitely is.
by the way.
Yeah, it's
So
like fucking Bobby Michaels or D. Snyder.
yeah, so it's
But I don't even know who the fuck I'm talking about. They're probably all real people. Snyder, quite
Bobby.
right.
I was gonna say Bobby Michaels sounds like one of those one of those fictional character movies. Like
I was
and it's
thinking
like
of Brett Michaels. That's who I was thinking of. And Bobby, somebody else. But yeah.
that's Brett Michaels' Down
Yeah,
syndrome
Brett
cousin Bobby. Bobby Michaels.
Hello, I'm Bobby.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, guys, so this is going to be a really fun and interesting and unique episode. Kind of like it was when we had Joe Bizarro on. We talked about Joe Bizarro's movie Brides of Satan. Meanwhile, our guest that we're going to have on the show today, Bobby, and we have confirmation, it is Canipe.
Yes.
It is not Canipe, and I feel like a smacked ass because why the fuck would it be Canipe?
Thank you.
So-
Thank you. I'd like to thank Honors English for guessing that correctly. So shout out 9th, 10th, 11th grade. You
There
did
we
me
go.
right. You served me well.
Tyler, AP English, grammar.
That's me. That's me. That's me over here.
But yeah, so we're gonna have Bobby Canipe Jr. on the show today, and he's in the process right now of making a really awesome documentary about video stores in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the wave that they came in on and went out on. So really looking forward to that documentary. We're going to talk to him about that. We're also going to talk to him about the newest film he'll be starring in, which is Shark Exorcist 2. And it's pretty crazy because my buddy Mikey, who came to the tape swap,
yeah,
he actually sent me like last month or like maybe like 2 months ago, like a screenshot, and it was like, dude, you got to watch this movie. It's on Prime. And it was Shark Exorcist 1, and directed by Donald Farmer, which I know that Bobby will be talking a little bit. I want to talk with Bobby about like working with Donald Farmer, because Donald Farmer is known for Cannibal Hookers, which was like a big 80s film, and then he did the remake in the modern day time. He's got a pretty solid fucking discography behind him. So all around, today's episode is going to be pretty fucking sweet. I'm excited. Yeah. I love having guests on the show. It always like tosses you in a like a curveball.
Yeah, it's definitely a curveball, a little different flavor to the normalcy of what we do. And plus I'm a big sucker for documentaries, so I got a lot of questions for him. I'll try not to have him give everything away, right? But I am curious about sort of, what he's done, what he's seen, on his travels, who he spoke with, some cool stories. I'm always interested in anything historical, especially pop culture. I think and you could say I don't know if you want to say it's necessarily pop culture history, but it's very much tied to it. So
yeah, no, for sure. And
yeah, I'm pretty stoked for it.
It's cool because it's the world of VHS, and it's
you can
the
see
world I like being in.
As you can see behind Caleb, and what we talk about almost every episode.
Yeah,
fitting
tapes and things. Speaking of which, that's gonna segue into this here, this fucking addiction that I've had for a long time, which is buying tapes. But there's a new taste that has come to be, and it's dangerous, and that is eBay. And I've bought things on eBay before, but
sure,
now it's been an issue of taking my phone and scrolling through the ending soonest category of, and then under subcategory of VHS horror. So it's just such a direct, streamlined way to find tapes that I'm interested in. So it's literally you search VHS horror and then you sort by ending soonest. And it's literally the tapes that are up for auction that are being bidded on, and then ending
Oh.
soonest. So like
So
you'll
you're
hit
the one
that
who dive
category.
bombs in.
Yeah,
You're the
and
one
it's
who
like
dives bombing at
9
the last
seconds.
second.
Yeah, it's like 9 seconds left, and I'm like, yeah, you know.
That's your adrenaline junkie coming out, I think, a little bit
Dude,
in the most
it's
calmest of forms.
it's really bad, man. Like it's really fucking bad. And like so like last week I picked up it was actually I think right after our episode, I like laid down and was doing just that. I was scrolling through eBay and we got to talking about it on the last week's episode.
Yeah.
And I really want a Wizard Video original Texas Chainsaw Massacre copy. I want the OG. And right now, I believe there is a copy listed for a lot of money. And I'll tell you how much in 1 second.
Got it.
So right now, there is one listed. There's two. One is just the tape. And fuck that. I want the cover, baby. Give me the cover. So just the tape, it's up for $694.
Jesus Christ.
Just the tape. Now, there's been a whole fucking big fiasco right now about and it's been going on for a few months now. I think we talked about it on episodes prior, but this whole grading system for tapes. It's just this bullshit of like shill bidding on eBay and these like guys that you pay to send your tapes to these guys for them to grade it and then list it, and then they list it for an astronomical price, and it's making the tape world look more extravagant than it was, in the sense of right now the only intact copy of a Wizard Video Texas Chainsaw original press is listed for $325,000.
That's insanity. Well, who would do you really think somebody would pay for that?
I think there might be somebody out there that just has stupid money.
Yeah,
here's the thing. They come in the plastic like grading system, like you see anything that's graded, baseball cards, football cards, whatever, comic books. And that's the whole thing. It's basically you send your tape to this guy, you pay him X amount of dollars, and then he puts it in this fucking thing, gives it a grading, and it's just some Joe Schmo. Like, and I mean, I guess to get into grading things, I guess everybody is just a Joe Schmo, but they have to be a historian, to be able to like know like, oh, the molding on this tape or this the ink that they used, or like, guys like know their shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but
it's weird though when I think of those people, I think of like the fucking episodes of Pawn Stars where they come in and they literally like
call the expert. Yeah,
and then just an expert fucking,
and the guy like comes in, just smells the thing, he's like, nah, it's fake.
Yeah, he's like, not real. This is actually from 65 and not 63, so go fuck yourself. You're not getting any money. And then, like, they just kind of like walk out and like ruin people's hopes and dreams.
And then the guy's just like instantly pissed, and then Chumlee is like, yeah, I can't do anything for you. Sorry.
Yeah, he's like, I got really skinny. And that's all that's all I think of when I see Chumlee now. I'm like, dude lost a lot of weight. That's it. And he also had I think he had like a criminal past there for a minute.
There was some stuff going on there. There was
meth
weird
or something.
Stuff.
I mean,
I don't know.
He looks like his drug of choice would be meth.
Yeah,
but that's
could be speed.
That's a whole side conversation. Yeah, it could be speed too. I mean, listen, he got skinny out of nowhere, so
this is true.
Yeah, but
yeah, $325,000 for this graded 7 out of 7.5. So yeah, I'm not gonna pay that. So if any listeners out there have a Wizard Video copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that they would want to get rid of for a couple $100, I'll pay a couple $100 for it. But I'm not gonna pay $700 for just the bare naked tape, and I'm fucking goddamn sure not gonna fucking pay fucking like almost $500,000. Like,
definitely at least over a quarter anyway.
Yeah, like,
so that's
insanity. I mean, first off, I don't have that kind of money to begin with. All right,
no.
Christ.
No, that's a house. That's a nice house.
Yeah, it's a real nice house in like a really nice area.
Yeah. But you can get a tape.
Yeah, so but you could get a tape. Yeah, true that. So I mean, like, that's just fucking bullshit. And then like, if you look like I'm gonna do the sold because that's where this is like that's the thing. Like people see what it's listed for and they're like, oh my god, my tape is worth so much money. It's
Yeah.
like, no, the listing price doesn't mean dog shit because it's what it's sold for. That's what you do. Okay, so the last one sold for $1,000 on
Yeah, that's
October
ridiculous.
14th. I mean, it's clean, but I mean, I can't. I'm not. No.
No,
I'm not making up reasons to justify it being $1,000. This one on September 22nd sold for $405. This one sold for $425. $1,700. This one sold for $1,700. Or no, it was listed at $1,700, and then a best offer was accepted.
Huh.
So yeah, there's a lot of fucking like that's probably like that would be my grail tape, and it's not even gonna be played ever. It's just gonna be for fucking honestly, bro. At this point, fucking Dylan, you're listening. I know you are. Psycho Pirate VHS. Just make me the goddamn boot. Just make it look 100% identical. I'm not gonna try and sell it. All right.
No. Well, I was gonna say the only reason to buy that type of tape would be, and in some way, just it's almost like a savings or like sort of like a sweat equity. I don't even know if that's actually the right term,
it's like purchasing gold.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
You buy it low and sell it high.
Right. And then it's also kind of like a stock because it depends on where VHS is in the world in terms of how much interest there is.
Right now it's going up.
It's going up,
immensely.
Right?
And like the thing is that like I'm seeing like right now there's like this like big like people are searching for like the last wave of tapes that were made.
Sure.
So like fuck, what was it? Like History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen.
Okay.
Like, apparently that was like one of the last tapes like ever put into production. So like now that's selling for like astronomical prices. And like that was made in like mass production. So like that's just crazy that like a common tape, just because it was like one of the last waves to go out, is being just soaked up right now. And there's a few other ones that I'm just like not remembering. But I mean, it's just crazy that like there's just like this like massive wave coming into the tape world, and people are, which is awesome. I would love more people to hop in on the collecting element, and the it's just a fun thing to talk about and like and have, and like they take up space, but like I think having a physical piece of media is definitely a lot more fun. And then it goes back to like earlier episodes where we talked about like a lot of tapes that are out there, you know, the films that the tapes are on. Or the tapes that the films are on, rather, backwards.
I got you. I followed.
But so like they're not on your streaming platform. Some of them, they're not going to be put out on, you know, Blu-ray or DVD, you know. So there's just like some cool stuff. Plus you might come across some like crazy home video stuff if you're out thrifting.
You don't know you don't know what's going to cut in the middle of it, you know. That's the truth.
Exactly.
That's the truth.
But so eBay has been a big thing. I just like right before we started recording, I bid on several tapes. Like Reanimator, the original. I actually don't have that tape. And then like Blood Orgy, which is like a trauma film. Apparently I've been outbid.
This is real time bidding, dude. This is
real time bidding, guys. All right, listen.
The new podcast is called Adrenaline eBay with Caleb.
eBay junkies.
eBay junkies.
It's a sideways segue.
That's it. Yeah.
But
nice,
dude.
Man.
So what have you watched this week?
Dude. Well, I want to save it for when Bobby comes on, because I know you had said and on his Instagram too, he had saw the early screener, but Halloween Kills, and I mean, I watched it literally, if I had to put it, like 12 hours ago, really. I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel. I just finished, I think I mentioned it on the last prior episode, Midnight Mass.
Yeah, you did talk about that.
Which was solid. It's slow, definitely a slow burner. Outside of that, I was catching clips because my wife right now, Kate, who will be on the next episode with Kate's Corner, she is cleaning the apartment, but she's watching the OG, I think 1930s Nosferatu.
Oh, very cool.
And I have never seen it. I've never seen it.
So there's this box set, and I saw it at FYE, and it's
Fouet?
called the Fouet.
The Fouet. That's what I started calling it. It's kind of like Target with Target, but FYE is now Fouet.
The
Fouet. It's like a perfume. Fouet. Yeah.
I am Fouet.
Fouet.
It's like French nonsense.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, so they had this box set, and it was like, I want to say 60 films.
Oh wow.
And it was called like Hammer Horror Classics or something like that. And it was like Nosferatu.
That's right.
And it's a ton. It's like a fucking 60, or it's like a 30 disc box set, and there's 2 films on each disc. And I was thinking about scooping that up, because there's definitely, like, Pam and I were having this we were having this discussion the other day that like there is a lot of like old horror films that I haven't seen. And
well, really,
I really want to get in. I really want to get back into that. I don't know if having their own dedicated episode for the show would be the most entertaining. I mean, maybe. Or then we have like a compilation episode of like, Universal monsters, and like maybe like a Bela Lugosi episode, or like a Boris Karloff. I
think that'd be awesome, because I was catching a clip of it, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually like pulling me in. And you got to really think about it. We're always focused more on what I consider to be the second wave of horror, with the late 70s into the 80s. But if you look at it, 30s, 40s, 50s, that's arguably your true first wave of like what kind of spurned and spawned a lot of the things that came after it.
Because of the technology in its infancy at that time, for filmmaking, a lot of it just based on its production value, it makes it dark and like creepy in its own.
Oh, sure.
Just because like the fucking, like, the mind and the eye for these shots that you would have had to have had back then. It was groundbreaking. I mean, so like that's why at this point now, like I'm definitely like, averting my attention that way. So that way, I can really get more knowledgeable into the history of but what started it all.
Right.
And, one thing I was looking at was that there's, Elvira talked about a lot of those films. She was a horror hostess for a very long time, and she talked about these movies. She hosted these movies on her show, and a lot of them are on tape, and I think that'd be like a cool, fun commentary type deal to have over top of these classic films. So like
maybe we should
it's getting into like a dangerous realm when it comes to collecting now for me.
Oh, 1,000%. Well, what would be cool is we should do like more of a visual episode for those, I think, because I think it'd be cool to, as like we're watching it, kind of have it, actually spawned across like we do on YouTube all the time. But I think that'd be cool to actually like watch those films. And to your point, you kind of, especially when you talk about the history of things, you almost want to start with almost like we're in fucking grade school again. Speaking of honors here, we'll do honors horror history with Tyler and Caleb. But I mean, it's you kind of start with that base level of foundation and then work up from there. Because ultimately, I think most films from the 70s and 80s, whether they're consciously, subconsciously, they're going to be pulling from those films of 20, 30, 40 years ago, because that's what directors were inspired by too, right?
Correct.
So, it'd be interesting to see, which Halloween Kills does have some references to a couple of the films. Not well thought out, I'll just say that. But again, I'm going to try to hold tight. And keep all of my opinions until the BOB comes on. And then,
no, I'm definitely with you there. Do you want to let's try this out. I'm gonna see if this works for our YouTube listeners or watchers or whatever you want to say.
Stalkers. We should start calling our fans stalkers just to keep with the horror theme.
Love that.
All you stalkers out there.
Because I think I figured out how to do this with sound, so you should be able to hear this.
Oh, really?
So are you seeing my screen right now?
I am seeing it.
You're seeing like the YouTube, John?
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's see if this works. This should come through.
It does. Audio? Wow, that's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. So this is
what are you guys doing out here?
It's Halloween. Trailer, the most recent
Are you alone?
Trailer.
There's a creepy man in a white mask.
Where?
And he keeps like trying to play hide and seek.
She's a housewife, by the way.
See him? Look!
Shit.
God dang.
See, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh no.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
She's a housewife.
Unlock the door! No! Come on!
Will not say H3.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, it is Newcastle.
My grandmother set the
Michael,
fire.
right?
It is. Yeah, he's credited anyway.
Told me what?
Oh, actually, I'm not sure.
A man couldn't have survived that fire. "40 years ago, the boogeyman came for us. We are the survivors of Michael Myers.
Glory, what do we do?
We fight.
Mom,
Our family will kill him.
we're gonna hunt him down and we're gonna put an end to this. He is not gonna stop killing until we stop him.
If you track Michael's victims, that's a straight line to Michael's childhood home.
Season of the Witch.
Yeah, the nods to the masks. It's pretty
Yep.
cool.
That is. It's like one of the 2 references or 3 that they have.
He's coming for me, but I'm
I don't know
coming
if
for you.
I don't know if we're gonna play the line that I keep hearing on the radio or not. Trailer, but it's the most corny line.
Oh, dude, it's bad.
You wanna kill someone? Take me! Michael!
I want to take his mask off
Yep.
and see the life leave his eyes.
That's so corny, bro. Like, I want to take his man. Oh, man, come on.
No, the corniest line, without question, is the one you sent me earlier in text. Is "Evil dies tonight." So, let me just say this: you got to watch this film 2 ways, and I'll repeat this when Bobby comes on. Kate pointed it out, and I think it's fair. I watched it in the vein of, okay, this is going to be sort of a continuation of the first, which is really a mimicking of the first Halloween in so many ways, but just kind of a different spin on it, but still within the same storyline and story arc. If you watch it that way, you're not going to be happy. But secondly, if you've never seen any Halloweens before, or you've kind of pattered around, just start from the beginning and kind of work your way through, because if you try and watch it, you're going to be confused because there's just so many things that happen. But Kate had a good point. She said, watch this as if it's a campy sort of comedy infused 80s slasher, and you won't be disappointed. And I sort of changed my view. Like, I was just like, I'm going to force myself to watch it as and make my mind see it as that.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't that bad. But, you know, if you're a fan of Halloween, you're like, well, fuck that. That's not what I'm trying to watch.
Well, Trox and I were actually texting right before you hopped in and we started recording. And basically what we were talking about was the Paul Rudd Curse of Michael, and which was like H6, I think. And,
Curse of, yeah.
So that one was so bad with the Thorn Cult that they had to completely ditch that entire timeline, and then they made H2O. And because they fucked up so bad, like bringing that whole like the reason that Michael kills and he's fucking
this and he's
he
that
doesn't die, it's because he's being puppeteered by the Thorn Cult. Like
Yep.
You know, and it's just like, while that is an interesting concept and idea, and it kind of gives you reason for Michael's like insanity and how he just doesn't die. It was actually executed so poorly, and
for sure,
so poorly that they had to completely abandon that entire timeline and then
just start over,
divert to a different timeline.
4 years later, they're just like, yep, nope, didn't happen. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. I saw a comment too that said people trashing this film are the same people that won't admit that Halloween 4 through 6 were trash just because of nostalgia factor.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw
and
that
I was
as
like,
well.
I don't know. I could certainly say 5, definitely 6, Curse of. They were 5 wasn't good.
5 was the first Halloween that I saw.
Yeah, right.
So to that point, it makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I think I look at 5 the same way I kind of look at this film, where it's like I could probably go back and watch it because there's a lot of great kills. That's one consistent thing that people I think have agreed on. The kills are, if you're like a true gore hound, it's primo. primo kills, and it's almost. I gotta stop myself. It's almost unlike the kills of what Michael Myers typically does. Like the way he's killing, you're like, that's not what he would do. He's never done that in fucking 9 films before this, whatever one this is. The 10th,
listen,
11th.
let's hold this because we
Jesus
have
Christ.
we have the man coming on here soon, and we'll talk.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it with him, and we'll get the juices rolling with that. But real quick before we get Bobby in here, let's go over any cool shit you've been listening to lately.
So I found this fucking band, and they've been an earworm for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. They're off of Pure Noise Records, and it's nothing like what Pure Noise does. It's not your fucking I miss my, I hate my mom, I hate my dad, I hate this town type of shit, and my girlfriend is the worst. It's a band called Just Friends. They came out, I think, like 2018, and it's and I say this kind of funnily, the guitarist of Mom Jeans. It's his side project, but it's like ska meets kind of like R&B. It's all over the place, but it's fucking so catchy. They just put out a song called Sunflower, and it's very, I don't even know what it is. It's almost like, it's like, I don't even fucking know. I can't even like put a number to it.
Okay,
but a lot of their
their
backing shit is ska though, and some people like ska. Some people fucking hate ska.
Ska ain't for me, but I will check it out. I love ska. I will definitely check it out and give it a shot. I know
Just
Pam
Friends.
loves Mom Jeans.
Oh, well, there you go. So
she might be into this.
It's a guitarist offshoot. So Just Friends has been a very consistent listen. Web Wing just put out that song "Make a Dime."
Yeah, really good.
Fucking really weird. I can never remember his name. Taylor.
Madison.
Yeah, Madison. Thank you. The lead singer formerly the lead singer of Super Heaven. He's got.
They're still a band.
They are still a band.
Oh, they're like playing like a handful of shows in the UK.
Fucking, I didn't even know, which is awesome. Thank God for that.
They never declared they
were done.
Broke up. Yeah, because like I went and saw them a couple of years ago.
Damn. Yeah.
So,
well, yeah.
But yeah, they'll play a show every now and then.
Super Heaven, if you're listening, put out another fucking record, please. Jake. Yeah, Jake, put out another record, dude, please. But no, Web Wing's cool because it's definitely, I mean, it's just a continuation, but I think it's more, I don't know, it's got this like weird, like the song Make a Dime. If you hear that guitar like in the back, it sounds like straight off of a sort of like a folk Southern type of song. It's like, it's got this weird like Southern influence too, almost like Door Creaks Open is a great example of that, where it's kind of got that boom, 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 boom. If you just fucking like hit that note a little higher, that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, so Web Wing I've been listening to quite a bit, and then Wage War, who I'm not a big fan of metalcore, but they just put out the song Manic, and it's like fucking an earworm too that I just checked out. So again, not something I usually bump.
You've been bumping some odd stuff lately,
dude. It's been coming out of left field for me, man. I don't know. I'm maybe it's I'm shedding new skin here. I'm becoming a new man. I'm just gonna come in. I'm gonna come. Yeah, dude. I'm gonna come in with fucking suspenders and like a checkerboard button up fucking glass.
We had Blink 192.
I'm just gonna put up. I'm just gonna keep screaming that and fucking like yeah, with my horns in the back. I'll have a bunch of I'll have a saxophone, like a trumpet, a trombone. Yeah. What about you, buddy? That's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, so with work, I've been honestly listening to our local radio station here, 93.3 WMR.
Everything that rocks.
Everything that rocks, bro. And there's just a lot of like really bad dad rock that gets replayed on there, but then like they start playing Turnstile, which is cool.
Dude. That Glow On, that record, I fucking love
it's very good.
So catchy.
So it's honestly just been that. Plus they have this thing going on right now called Money Clips, and like literally like 6 or 7 times a day they like give you the chance to like text in a keyword and like win $500. So I'm at work in my truck from 6 a.m. till about 4 or 5ish, and the keywords go off at 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, and 8.
Ooh.
So there's like quite a bit, like every 2 hours basically.
You catch like 75% of them then.
Yeah, and like I'm like militant with it, and I've been like sending those in because I'm like, I want $500 just so I can fucking, I don't know, pay some bills.
Oh, yeah.
So shit, you know.
Speaking of not $500, but half of that. If anybody wants an Xbox One, I'm selling it. So
There we go.
anyone
DM
listening,
us
yeah,
on
DM us.
Instagram.
DM us your best offers. It's in primo condition, nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of sitting, collecting dust, and you know, if I can make a little scratch, I can make a little scratch. So
Yeah, there we
anyway,
go. Ty
that's all I
Guy's
got.
selling his Xbox One. So
Yeah,
if you guys
come-
want it, DM us on Instagram at TapeHead Massacre. And listen, I want to talk about something real quick because this came into our light the other day, and that's the fact that we have some extensive listenership from all over, and
Yeah.
I kind of want to acknowledge some of you guys. Listen, we have a lot of you are from the United States, so shout out to
the mainland.
Yeah, shout out to the mainland, our Oklahoma, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, District of Columbia, Indiana.
Wow.
Like, shout out to all you guys in the mainland here.
Shout out my flyover states, Indiana.
Yeah. Let's see.
I don't know why I
Who
shouted out
else?
Indiana.
Texas, Pennsylvania, California, Virginia, Washington, New York, Ohio, North Carolina, Connecticut, Tennessee, Florida, Maryland. Shout out to all you guys. There's a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back here, and then this is where just this shit gets crazy. And why is this?
Shout out the UK. I know our people.
Okay,
in
so
the
here we
UK.
go. So yeah, UK is the runner-up from the United States right now. So shout out to our England and Scotland listeners.
Ooh, Iron Brew. That's that fucking drink of Scotland, man. I bought that on Amazon. I bought a fucking tall boy for $13.
Nice.
It's great. Tastes like bubble gum. I don't know if
Okay.
that's a hot take from our Scottish listeners. Sorry if I just like shit all over your drink of choice over there, but and also Train Spotting. I love that movie, so shout out.
There we
Scotland.
go. And then shout out to Germany. Germany, honestly, we have a lot of listeners in Germany. This is crazy. I'm gonna butcher these
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear it.
Hesse, Bavaria, Thuringia.
Nice.
Saxony, Lower Saxony, and Hamburg. So thank you to all you guys.
Sick.
Australia next after Germany, Victoria and Queensland, Australia. So thank you for the listenership.
Wow.
South Africa coming in after Australia. So thank you to Western Cape and Gauteng. I think.
Shout out Ernie Els. He was a professional golfer from South Africa.
There you go. All right.
That's my fun South African fact.
This was our last one up here. Isle of Man.
Dude, that's an alien.
Douglas is the location. So Douglas, Isle of Man. Thank you. I think it's just one person. So thank you
Isle of Man
for checking us out
Here's
in
the thing.
Isle of Man. That's crazy. Also, whoever that is, if you follow us on Instagram at TapeHead Massacre, shoot us a message. Like, we'll send you some cool shit. Like, that's nuts.
Dead serious, yeah. But also, I feel like, and maybe I'm doubting you, Isle of Man listener. I just thought it was one of those things where somebody was like searching Apple Podcast or Spotify and was like trying to type something in, and they somehow accidentally hit a button on us and hit like an episode, and they were like, "What the fuck is?" I don't even know what they're saying. Pause, and then they just left. But somehow we got them on there.
Yeah, we got the listener somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen. So honestly, just message us on our Instagram and be like, hey, you shouted me out. I'm from here. Like, because that's crazy.
That'd be
That's
cool.
awesome. Like, other countries, you guys are listening to us. Like, this is insane. Like, it's way crazier than we thought it would ever take off. So we want to just give our appreciation for that and say thank you.
Thank you.
And with that being said, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you guys are listening to us right now. We're obviously on there, but we're also on YouTube. We are on Instagram. I am in the process of making us an actual legitimate website.
Oh yeah.
So it's coming together. And then if you want to buy some tapes, I'm on Mercari. If you just look up TapeHead Massacre on Mercari, I'm selling a bunch of tapes on there, as well as Tyler. We got stuff for sale on there. But all that being said, I think it's time for our guest to pop on, and I'm gonna bring him in here now.
Oh, I gotta go get a water, by the way. My mouth is my throat's like the Sahara Desert, so
that's okay. Yeah, you want to grab me one too, bro?
Yeah, dude, I'll just fucking virtually shoot it through.
All right, well, here we go. We're gonna insert some Jeopardy music here. All right, we'll be right back, guys.
Yep. I'm gonna grab that water.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Oh, good Lord. I had to pee, I needed water, and I was super hungry, and I just went to the Amish market in Bridgeton, and I got a chicken salad, and fucking A, was that good. I just had like
Nice.
7 bites. I just like slammed them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, YouTube. Well, you got to watch that brief intermission there. But what's up, everyone else? We are back. And with us, we will have shortly. He should be popping his head in here. I just sent him the invite. So
Beautiful.
We'll see him shortly. But we're about to have on Bobby. And we're going to be talking some cool stuff.
Very cool stuff. I'm excited. B.O.B.
The B.O.B. Yeah, I'm gonna have to insert some funny tunes in that.
Just have airplanes play.
Yeah,
I'm an airplane. Yeah.
that's awesome.
He had a song called Mellow Yellow that a kid I went to high school with. He just like flipped me a burned CD one day in the middle of like computer class. I was like, check this out. And it was B.O.B. before he was B.O.B. Wasn't good.
B.O.B. What is this? It's an artist?
You've never heard of B.O.B.?
I don't think so, man.
Dude, you remember that song Airplanes with Haley Williams? They're talking about airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars. That's B.O.B.
Oh yeah, I do
really
remember that.
Yeah, there was
you
that.
really use a wish right now.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
but he had a song called Mellow Fellow. And I remember the kid like flipped me the burned CD and he had a Mellow Yellow in his hand and was like, you like Mellow Yellow? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, check this out. And he threw me this fucking burned CD with a song called Mellow Fellow from
What the
B.O.B.
hell?
Yeah, he's a flat earther, B.O.B.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. He's not as cool as who sang the song Wonton Soup?
Wonton
Lil
soup.
B. Eat that wonton soup. Slay. I'll never forget that song as long as I live.
Yo, so did you watch that Mondo video I sent you?
No, I didn't. I
Lunch
fucking
Meat?
forgot. No, I forgot to. But because I saw a Mondo video on Instagram, so I saw like the pictures, obviously,
Yeah.
of what they're doing. Oh my god, that chicken salad's coming back up. God, it was so good though. Yeah, it was so good. Very heavy though. Very heavy.
Very heavy. Let's see. What the fuck?
Technical difficulties.
I don't know. I just don't know where the fucking
You trying to find airplanes in the night sky?
yeah, like shooting star.
Man, I could really use a wish right now. That's gonna be fucking in my head, by the way. I'm so upset.
Yeah, no,
we
that
brought that up.
that just drove that terribly.
Terribly south.
Wow. Yeah, that's fuck.
That's all right though. We could bring her back.
We need a different song. We need a different song. That's what we need.
Fuck, I don't even know. Oh, dude, you know what I saw?
That's how you get the terrible songs out of your head. You just got to come up with a new one.
We do. But speaking of, I just saw. I was on our Instagram, and it's kind of how I find like little goodies. But there was I found this website, and they were selling horror vinyl soundtracks. By the way,
Very cool.
I didn't know any of them though, but
That's
they
okay.
were selling them.
All right. Well, let's see. It looks like we're loading in here.
Dialing in.
Dialing in. There we go. Can you hear us, sir?
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Sure can. What's up, buddy?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. I'm good, man. I hope you guys are doing well.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, buddy.
Yeah.
All is
Thank you.
all is good. We are just we were just talking about Halloween kills just before you hopped on, and we wanted to wait until you hopped on because we knew that you had seen it earlier this week.
Oh yeah, I seen it this past Tuesday. I actually was fortunate enough to be invited to an advanced screening, so it was a packed house, just full of horror fans, which is always pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Well, Bobby, first and foremost, I know we haven't had the pleasure of meeting. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for
Pleasure to meet you, man.
Thanks for making our podcast look like a legitimate podcast, even though I think sometimes we don't know if that's the truth or not when we start doing these episodes. But we appreciate the hell out of it, man. No, I tried to keep as much information packed in about the film as I could and waiting for you to come on board. I let some slip out, but I was curious what you thought. Especially with how'd you get into the early screen? That's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm working on a documentary, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I had went to a convention out here in North Carolina called Mad Monster Party about a month ago. We were there all weekend, and we were kind of meeting people and stuff like that. And one of the people that I met was a girl named Megan Grant, and she works with this company called Get Dead Crew, and they go out and they do like special effects on movies and stuff like that. And I become friends with her, added her on Facebook, and then her company got advance tickets, and she wasn't able to go. So she messaged me and said, "Hey, I know you and your daughter are real big horror fans. Do you want these advance tickets?" And I had to drive like an hour and 15 minutes, to get there. But I mean, it's free tickets, man. I mean,
Yeah,
free.
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want them. So I got to hook up on it. It was pretty cool.
nice.
That's awesome. That's
Rad.
awesome. Yeah, we no, I mean, speaking of special effects, I think that was probably the strongest point of Halloween Kills, in my opinion, was the actual kills itself, which there you go, a little bit
Rightfully
redundant
named now, right?
Yeah, rightfully named. But
Yeah. Well, what's cool about that, literally right before I got on, I was looking on Facebook and I saw a news story that said that Halloween Kills has the highest body count of any horror movie in history.
whoa.
I think it's 37 kills, I think is what they said it was.
Yeah, well, that ending I think took about half of
Oh,
them.
yeah. Yeah.
They
That's
just
that's a solid 20 kills, probably.
Oh, easily.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Bobby. I'll leave this to you. But my wife, Kate, we were watching it last night, so I'm about 12 hours removed from the viewing, and I'm a huge Halloween fan. As far as franchises are concerned, it's probably my favorite of the horror canon. But I went in watching it probably thinking that the storyline was more so going to be and it was to some degree a continuation of the first, but I thought it would be sort of in line of the story arc of all of the Halloweens. Well, at least the ones we like to remember, which it wasn't. But but Kate had mentioned that she was like, if you watch this as sort of like a campy 1980s slasher, she's like, I bet you'll like it. So I literally just like reshifted my brain when watching it to like a campy sort of comedy infused slasher, and I was like, oh, this is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, well, see, that's what ultimately I try to do that with 99% of horror movies, because I look at it unless it's like an A24 movie, like A24 movies, they try to take it dead serious. You totally mess up the meaning of those kind of movies like Midsommar and Hereditary and stuff if you go in and try to make those campy. You can't do that. But like slashers and stuff, I go into it, and if I get some kind of profound meaning out of it, and it surprises me, cool. But yeah, I try to go in, with that campy vibe all the time. One thing that I really loved is, and I don't know, we can talk spoilers here, I guess, right? We're not like, is this podcast stuff right here?
Yeah, we could do some spoilers.
Spoilers are fine.
We'll put a soundboard for it so everybody knows before they get into it.
All right, spoiler alert. But the 2018 Halloween, I wasn't a huge fan of, honestly. And my biggest complaint was, and I remember watching it, and literally right after the movie went off, I said, I can't stand Laurie Strode in this movie. I feel like she makes everything about her, and like it's like so bad. But then I love that in this one, she thinks it's all about her, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's not actually about you at all. He doesn't actually even care about you. He just wants to go to his house. And I'm like, yes, I love that. Like, cool. Yep. It's not about her. So that was cool.
That's what I said. I made a joke right when I think it's her and Sheriff Hawkins are talking when he's like, it's not about you. I was like, oh, Michael Myers is just a violent introvert. He's like, I just want to go back to my fucking house. Let me watch outside the window. Everybody leave me alone. Because he murders, because I think Lonnie points it out. He's like, yeah, he leaves the hospital. He does his like killing spree, and then he's back in his house. And I'm like, oh, he's just an introvert. He just wants to be alone.
Just put like a chain link fence with some barbed wire around that house and just live a sentence in that house, That's
it. Yeah. That's it. Literally have that be the state ward. He'll be good to go, and we'll solve every Halloween after that.
There you go.
There'll be no Michael Myers. But no, that's a very good point. Yeah, she is all about herself. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
And she ends up just being like really a nobody. Like she's nobody. She was just one of the victims or one of the people that happened to survive, and she thinks it's about her, which is funny to me.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, Bobby, that's a perfect transition, I think, into kind of what we'll get into talking about. But my first big question for you is, and Caleb and I talk about it on many episodes and many people that come on, but what got you into horror movies? Was there sort of a first watch that just kind of struck you, or did it just kind of compound over time?
Yeah, so I started watching horror movies extremely early. So my mom, when she got pregnant with me, she was only 16. So she was like extremely young. She she didn't really know how to be a parent. You know what I'm saying? So she wasn't the best parent, but I don't think she knew really how to be a parent. So I kind of could just watch whatever I wanted, And I remember my dad bought a VCR. I was born in '84, so I'm a little bit older than you guys. But when I was about, I'd say 4 or 5 years old, stuff like that, I was kind of left to myself to just walk around the house and do whatever. So underneath the cabinet, there was like a bunch of VHS tapes that my dad had bought. And one of them actually, surprisingly, was Halloween. It was the media tape of Halloween that we had. Nice. And it was just in like a clamshell. Like it was like, I think it was an old rental he bought or something. Okay. But I used to pop it in all the time and just watch it. And I guess at 4 or 5 years old, I didn't really understand exactly what was going on, but I thought it was cool, like I was like, wow, this is neat. I shouldn't be watching this, but I am, So I watched that. My dad was really big into Elvira. So it would actually come on syndicated when I was a kid, Movie Macabre, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my dad would watch it. He was a big fan of Elvira, so we would stay up and watch those. My dad even had the old Coors Light Elvira standee in his workshop. So I always thought that was cool. Yeah, so he wasn't really big into horror, but he was into Elvira for multiple reasons that aren't related to horror. But,
makes total sense. Yep.
Exactly. So he would stay up to watch Movie Macabre. I would watch it for the movies at that age, and he would watch it for Elvira. But so that was a big introduction to horror. And then when my uncle used to spend the night with my mom. They were real close, and they would watch scary movies. And certain ones they'd let me watch, but then certain ones they'd be like, "No, you need to go to your room, or go to bed." And one of them I specifically remember. I was 5 years old. I lived in Lancaster, South Carolina, and they rented Night of the Demons. And I remember being at the video store with them, and I seen that cover, and I was like, I have to figure out a way to see this movie. But my mom was like, you can't watch this. So I pretended to go to my room. You guys can't see me, but I'm putting air quotes. I pretended to go to my room, and I snuck back in the couch that we had. It was a really weird couch. It had like wooden legs on it that lifted it kind of up off the ground, probably about half a foot off the ground. And they were sitting on it. I snuck behind the couch, and I was little enough that I could get under the couch. And I watched the entirety of Night of the Demons while hiding under the couch.
That's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was such like I tell a lot of people that was like a really pivotal moment in my my love for horror. And then when my mom found out I was under the couch, luckily it was at the end of the movie. But she was kind of like, well, I guess just watch whatever you want. So I would go to the video store, and I was drawn to these like really gory horror covers that people love now, like Cannibal Campout, 555, stuff like that. And I specifically remember renting Cannibal Campout when I was 8 years old and watching it and stuff. Because my mom would be like, pick out a movie. I'm going tanning next door at the tanning salon. So I just put whatever I wanted up there, and I'd be in my room with my little 13-inch TV watching Cannibal Campout and stuff at 8 years old. But
wow. Yes. So you weren't lying. You were introduced, and not just introduced to like, I mean, think of your least gory. I mean, you were getting into it. You were deep in it at 8 years old. Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, in all honesty, probably by 7 years old, I had watched all the mainstream stuff, like the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff, and I was like, yo, this Cannibal Campout movie has a guy eating a girl's guts out beside a campfire. Like, I want to see this.
Yeah. You got to up the bar at that point. Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
But you hit on a cool note too, and I know Caleb, you started watching it. I've went through it a couple times, but is the In Search of Darkness documentaries, and I think they even hit a point where they talk about VHS covers, and part of a lot of what horror movies was the marketing scheme and the branding that they put behind their films and what they actually put on the shelves, because that's what jumped out to people, right? Was more so the cover than anything, and that's a huge part of it. And I know, Bobby, with your documentary, the Mom and Pop VHS store documentary, I'm curious, kind of a surface level question here, but speaking of going to VHS stores, Caleb and I talk about it quite a bit. Did you have a VHS routine? Right, so we had our snack selections. We had the area in which we would go to in the VHS stores. I'm curious if you had yourself a routine back in the day going to VHS.
Absolutely. So I still love video games to this day. I play a lot of video games. I did when I was a kid. It was always a routine. I would get a horror movie or a couple, especially if it was like the 5 for 5 days for $5 kind of thing. I would go and I'd grab like a stack of tapes, horror tapes, primarily completely horror tapes. And then I'd go get like a Nintendo 64 game or something like that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And so I would come in. I'd usually go straight to the video game section because that was kind of like the one that like they have one copy of, and it was fairly new, and all the kids wanted it. So I'd be like, I'll grab that first because then when I go to the horror section, I want to see these old cheap horror movies, and they're always in. I don't have to worry about that. Nobody's written Demon Queen from Donald Farmer, you know, at 10 years old, except for me. But you know. But so I would go and I'd grab a Nintendo 64 game, you know, like especially like when Mortal Kombat 4 came out on Nintendo 64, like I was like hype about that, you know. So I remember grabbing that. Yeah, and like it's funny because my wife tells me I'm like the most nostalgic person she's ever met because I literally remember these weird nostalgic moments. Like I remember calling ahead to the video store called Mega Video that was about 15 minutes from my house, asking them if they got Mortal Kombat 4 for Nintendo 64, and they said, yeah, we got it today. I was like, can you hold it? You know, that was back when you could call ahead and get them to hold a tape for you for 30 minutes or whatever. So I got there and I rented Mortal Kombat 4 on Nintendo 64. Then I went over and me and my friend was spending the night that night. And if you guys remember the movie Elves with Dan Haggerty in it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I hadn't seen that yet, and I seen it on the cover, and we looked at that elf on the front. And this kind of ties into your cover too. We saw that elf on the front, and then looked on the back and saw that elf puppet, and like it was just at the time it was so scary to us, like the look of that cover. And so we rented that. So you know, I went my routine of going in, grabbing a game, grabbing a movie, and it's funny you kind of tie it in with snacks, or I do. I always remember the snacks that I got. You know, it would be popcorn. And then my mom loved that candy Whoppers. If you remember Whoppers.
So people shit on Whoppers, and I love Whoppers. I'm a big Whopper supporter.
I grew up, man, on them.
Whoppers are good, but I don't think so. Here's the thing. So Whoppers for me, I like malt. So like getting like a malt milkshake, that's the move. And you got Whoppers. See, what I would do is I would never just take the Whoppers and just eat them out the box because I just like it was a texture thing for me. I don't know. They taste good, but it was just like that crunchy shit. So what I would do, I would just always put it in my ice cream. And then, like for some reason, that just made it better. So, and then I would have my malt milkshake. You know, it just always worked.
I used to eat them out of the. I would get in trouble because they'd have the big. You remember the big cartons, like the actual, like almost like old milk cartons. But I would lip it to death because I would just pour them back, and it would be all like soggy. And my dad would get so pissed at me about that. But never forget me. But you're right, though. It's nostalgia is such a huge thing. In our lives, for sure, you know.
Absolutely, and I don't know about you guys or other people that are in nostalgia, but I've talked to people about this before, and I think with me, what it is, especially is like I'm an adult now. I have kids, I have bills, I have a job. You know, I like to look back at those moments because I was very fortunate, man. I had a great childhood. You know, I was able to, on a Friday night, have a friend spend the night, go get some pizza, go rent a stack of movies, stay up as late as we can, and like. That was like pivotal moments in my life that I love. And I guess my way of like looking back at mom and pop stores on the documentary, collecting tapes, stuff like that is my way of like recapturing that like blast that I had, you know?
Sure. Well, that was actually, you just took my question right out of my mouth was that, you know, was it sort of a way to kind of recapture things from your youth? And it kind of is, you know, I love, and I'm sure it's almost like for you and Bobby, I'll let you speak on that, but I'm imagining it was probably just like, sitting in like a form of conversation as much as it was actually filming a documentary because you could point to things and go, oh, you did this. I loved this. You know, I'm sure there was so many things that connected, but I would love for you to talk more about that.
Yeah. And honestly, you hit the nail on the head with that. Like a lot of times I'd be sitting there, you know, we'd have the camera and the whole setup with the microphones and the lavalier mics and stuff. I'd have my headphones on so I could kind of hear them through the microphone, and we would just be having a conversation, and they would bring up something that like I forgot about when I was a kid, and like all these memories would flood in, and I'd like have to stop myself from talking over them because I would be like, oh, I'm excited. I forgot about this. You know? So, and that happened a lot because what's crazy is despite your age, despite when you grew up, despite what video stores or what part of the country you went to, there's these underlying like threads that we all kind of connected on, and we didn't even know that we were sharing these same memories. You know, like the first time you went in and you seen this tape on the shelf, like a lot of us had that same memory, but we didn't even know, you know? And, and that's something that we really strived for in this documentary, was to recapture that because like I'm telling you, if you're anything like me, especially with like the nostalgia and the VHS and the video store and stuff, you're gonna be hearing some of these stories, and those memories are gonna click in your head, and you could be like, "Oh my god!" And like, it's almost emotional at times, you know, because like you start to think as a greater whole. You're like, "Oh, I remember that video store, or that cover," and then you start, like for me anyway, start thinking about. I think about my dad. Oh, I remember my dad was doing this, you know, and then you're like, you start thinking about your family and how it impacts your life. It's insane how those memories can do that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and I think it's funny, like VHS stores, I always attribute it to something like music, right? It's, you can connect it to the familial whole sometimes, because when I think about VHS stores, I think about myself, my mom, and my sister. Bobby, kind of like you grew up, they just kind of let me loose. They just kind of shot me out of a cannon. They were like, just figure it out, man. Whatever you're into, you're into. And, I remember I think it was mostly Blockbuster. I don't even truly, I think what's strange, and Caleb, you actually have a different side of things too with that.
We didn't have any other, we actually didn't have any. My uncle's video store was the last mom and pop store in our area for like miles. And he shut down the year before I was born. And the only thing that we had was the blockbusters that were nearby us. And like that was what we pretty much grew up on, was Blockbuster. I mean, I much would have. I got all these pictures and prints and stuff from my uncle, and he showed me like how the store was and all this cool shit, and then like hearing like memories from everybody else. And I'm like, damn, I kind of wish that I was brought up with that as opposed to Blockbuster, where it was like some shitty teenager behind the counter that like wanted no interaction with anybody, where like, you see all like in films and stuff, and like, so many people have recollections of memories when they were younger of like shooting the shit with the clerk, and like talking tapes and like talking movies, and especially video games, because that's the big one for me too. I remember going in and trying to find like the craziest like N64 like PlayStation game like that they had on the shelf.
Well, funny enough, I have an old PS2 game from Caleb from years, because we've been friends since pre-K. And there's an actual Blockbuster PS2 rental that when I was sifting through my parents' stuff a couple months back, I actually found it, and I gotta put it's in my car somewhere. I have like a Sanford and Son vehicle where it's just things are just piled in, so I just gotta sift through it to find it. But but Bobby, I'm curious, how much travel did you do for the documentary? Was it mostly?
Oh man, no. So we started out, and what we were gonna do was regional, and then I started getting all these messages talking about like, oh man, I wish you guys come out here. I've got this amazing story. I've got this amazing location. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, we need to travel for this, but obviously I'm not made of money, so I can't afford all this. So we did the Indiegogo. Right. And I thought at the time I had come up with the right amount of money. I was like, oh, this is plenty. Obviously, it's like anything else. You plan for something, and then it's not near enough money. But we were able to work it out with putting in our own money and stuff. But we traveled. We were going to do it regionally at first, and then we decided we were going to do like a road trip in our car. And then it ended up being just over 3,000 miles we drove in a week. We were in a different state every single day. Like, we would basically get to the location, talk to the person, interview, film, drive to the next location, sleep for a few hours, for a whole week. And I live in North Carolina. So we left from North Carolina. We went through Virginia, Pennsylvania, all the way up to Portland, Maine. Went from Portland, Maine to, it was crazy. Chicago, Pittsburgh, Kentucky, and Tennessee, kind of like in a big circle right there. Got a ton of footage that way. So a little over 3,000 miles and about 7 or 8 days of travel. And then we flew to LA, because obviously we weren't going to drive that. But we flew out to LA, and we stayed in LA for a week, and got with some really cool people like Brad Sykes, who did Camp Blood. We went out there and talked to AJ Dana, who, if you guys remember the pop-up slashback video thing with the killer, he had like the big TapeHead. He played TapeHead, and so funny, like alternative style here with him. He played TapeHead at slashback video, and then he's also known for the Disney show Bunked. He's in that show as well. Yeah, so it's like
what a 180
opposite. Yeah, so we got with him. Got with Adam Protector, who's a big guy in like the VHS community. He's like as a rapper. He has a lot of knowledge. We went and hung out with him for a while. and his partner who was in what's the name of that movie? Scare Package. She was one of the actresses in Scare Package and is real big into VHS. So talked to a lot of cool people out there. Flew back after a week. Then my camera guy, he does some stuff at a haunt through October, so we kind of like had to take some time off so he could do that. Sure. We start back filming. We're doing all our regional stuff that's locally starting on November 6th, which is going to be fun because we're actually going to where I used to rent my tapes at. Nice. So it's like a convenience store that isn't even owned by the same people or anything anymore. But we got, what's cool is that store, I rented from a place called Cat Square Superette. And it was a little gas station on the corner of a crossroads, the only like crossroads in my whole little town.
Yeah.
And it was called Cat Square because in the middle, there were so many stray cats. Cats would congregate in the middle of the town square. And then cars would come and have to honk the horn for them to get out of the way. So they just named it Cat Square, and they literally painted a square in the middle with a cat in the middle because it's like southern towns, man. Yeah. So anyway, it was a gas station literally a quarter of a mile from my house, so I could ride my bike down there and get like some candy and a soda, and then they rented some tapes there as well. And you know, I had a lot of great memories there. I rented a lot of good stuff there, but everybody in that community did as well. So I reached out and I found all these people from that community that either still live there or used to live there. They're all coming back, and we're all going to kind of do like a round table discussion, literally set up at the corner of the crossroads in front of where the store used to be. And yeah, so it's gonna be like a huge wave of nostalgia memories there. So we're gonna do that, and then we got some other regional stuff, but that's one that is my story, so I'm like really excited about that. So a lot of I know I went way off the subject there, but
no
ton of travel.
That's absolutely fine. That's fucking awesome. So cool.
And I was going to say too, and I don't want to give too much of it away, obviously, because you know we want to save the information. But I'm curious because of the amount of travel you did. Did you? And you kind of mentioned it already in terms of common threads, in terms of what you and the others you spoke with, sort of the commonalities that you had with VHS stores. But I'm curious from a career arc perspective, from opening to closure of these stores. Were there common themes that jumped out to you after you were doing this travel? Yeah, there
was for sure. You had the commonality of you'd hear, oh, it was streaming. Then you'd hear other people that said Blockbuster came in and bought all the land in the area that their rental stores were on and bought their buildings and then literally raised their rent so high they had to shut down. So I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. Then I also heard that in towns where Blockbuster wasn't able to do that, they would contact the distributors and say, you know, we're a huge corporation. If you sell to these rental stores, then we're not buying from you anymore. So obviously they're like, we got to have Blockbuster. So they would stop selling at wholesale prices to these small mom and pop video stores, which caused them to have to pay the full price. And they would only be able to buy like one, you know. And
interesting.
Like, yeah, it just they couldn't do it. And that's when you saw a lot of tanning salons pop up and rent tapes. They would have to do something else to bring in income because they weren't making it from the tapes. And you know, convenience stores with tapes and stuff. At one point, it was a great way to bring income, but then it got to the point where it's like they just couldn't sustain it.
Wow, so that's interesting, and that's kind of not what I had thought. I would have thought that surely. Yes, Blockbuster became almost like the mall of VHS stores, where it just sort of undercut the prices of mom and pop retailers. But I never knew it was that seedy almost. Oh
yeah, and I mean, Blockbuster did do that. They were able to buy from distribution companies at a much lower rate, so they could have 100 copies guaranteed in stock. They could afford to do that. So you know, if you're the average moviegoer, it just makes sense to go to Blockbuster and rent your movie because you don't have to like call ahead, is it in, blah, blah. Now, for people like us who like some of the stuff like I mentioned before, Cannibal Campout, 555, Lunch Meat, those movies were never in Blockbuster.
No.
So, you know, like us, we like mom and pops because of that. We had that selection to choose from. I know I didn't have a Blockbuster in my town. I lived in a very small southern town. It was 50 minutes to the closest Blockbuster. The only thing I knew of Blockbuster was I'd watch some VHS tapes, and they'd have that old school "Make It a Blockbuster Night" commercial.
yeah.
Sometimes I'd be like, "What the hell is Blockbuster?" And then like I spent the night at my buddy's house, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to Blockbuster tonight." And I was like, "Oh man, I heard about this place. This is gonna be awesome." So I go, and I remember going to their horror section. I was like, "What? Like, where's
Yeah.
I'm confused. Like,
right.
What's going on here? They have. I remember looking at the wall, and they had 200 copies of Last Action Hero, but they didn't have like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6, Freddy's Dead. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Maybe I don't like Blockbuster.
That's a familiar theme with at least our local Blockbuster that we had. Both of them actually, both Pennsville and Bridgeton, because they didn't stock like older tapes. It was basically like I'm speaking horror section specifically because they would have whatever Blockbuster, larger film that was out at the time, that would be the staple. Would have a banner and a whole promotional, section for that. But then it would be like these like B movies, and then there was like really like a small section for like I forget what they called it. It wasn't like vintage, but it was like in the same vein of like a vintage horror category, and there might have been like 10 tapes to choose from, and they never rotated. So it was like I never got to, at least when I was renting tapes and like, films at a young age, I was never able to get my hands on like oldies. It was more or less like, if a friend of mine had it, or if a family member had tapes like stashed away somewhere, like I could find, like I remember watching Motel Hell like really young because my grandma owned it. But in terms of like, Blockbuster, you're absolutely right. Like they didn't stock like any like hard to finds or like stuff like the mom and pops. Cause I remember there was a I forget what the place was called. But there was a place in Delaware that I went to like maybe 4 or 5 times, and like they had like a huge horror section, and it was my dad's buddy like knew about it. My dad and I were the ones that would always go to the Blockbuster and shit. And he was like, this place has a whole store based around horror. And that's what my dad and I were interested in. So that's why we went there. And like, I remember we bought a bunch of stuff from there the one time, and they had a huge selection, but it took us an hour and a half to get there. So it was like, or at least as a kid, maybe it was that long, but right. But still, like we never went back. It's just like so far, but Blockbuster sucked for that, like it didn't have the good stuff.
Yeah. And one thing I did want to, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you, Tyler.
No.
One thing I did want to say is like, I say this a lot on the road trip. I by no means want to bash Blockbuster because even though they did do some seedy stuff and they're known as like the big conglomerate that put the little guys out, maybe they did. But honestly, like they went for a market. Their market was mainstream, family, stuff like that. And I get it. I get that. And I mean, a lot of people went to Blockbuster. A lot of like very big horror fans, horror directors found their horror niche or whatever, going to Blockbuster. So, I mean, they did have that, and they did provide that for a lot of people. So, by no means, it's not my style, but I don't bash them or put them down.
And it just sucks because I feel like, I would have much rather had the experience that you had versus, I'm not saying that our experience was bad. I loved Blockbuster, but that's the thing. It was all I knew. So, like, I didn't get to have those, like, more like, I don't want to use the word like intimate, but more or less like you just had like, you had more of an experience at like a mom and pop shop because they actually gave a fuck. And hearing stories, from my uncle about his store and stuff, it was like, I mean, talk about small towns. The town that Tyler and I grew up in was very, very small and might have a population of like 500 at max. So like, like that, he like ran that town in terms of like, he provided, like what those people were gonna see, So
to that point too, Bobby, I think you hit on probably a big, or I guess the word's commonality on this episode today. That's the word of the episode. But I mean, it's kind of the same thought process to, if you were to go to a fast food chain versus a mom and pop restaurant or a mom and pop deli, there's a level of intimacy there that often is missed with a Blockbuster, which is not to say that that's a bad thing, but to your point, they're really pushing for a more mainstream focus, right? What's charting, what people are interested in, much more familial environment in terms of what families want to go watch. But there is that level of intimacy that I'm sure on the road you found with mom and pop stores, that they knew your name, they knew your family, they knew your brother, mother, father, sister, but they also knew, hey, I know you came in here last time and you got this. Well, this is what we got in the back here. Go check. So there's a level of comfort there that I think was certainly missing with a Blockbuster, who might have, you know, a kid who's not interested in what you're doing, or they might have like 6 or 7 employees. Yeah, this is just a paycheck, right? Whereas there's a lot more blood, sweat, and tears often put into the mom and pop stores that I'm sure in your stories, right? I'm sure you found quite a bit of, you know, traveling for the documentary. But I think that's where the mom and pop differed, and certainly there's a part of that that's you kind of miss, but you can also reflect on it with your own family and your own stories too. So I think that's where, and I'm sure Bobby, you can explain that much better than I could, but in, you know, right.
No, it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see a resurgence? Because obviously in the horror community, there is a lot of people that collect tapes and buy, and not even just tapes in general, physical media. So having because Tyler and I were floating around the idea a couple years ago about opening up like a video store around this area, and you know, it's still a possibility. But you know, what do you think in terms of like a resurgence of like something like that coming back, where like obviously streaming is the kingpin at this point?
Yep, I think so. Honestly, I do think there's already a resurgence, and it's going to get bigger. I think we've seen that with the resurgence of vinyl several years back. Sure. Vinyl's massive right now. People there is that market of people that will buy a vinyl and never even play it just because they're like, oh, I got a vinyl. Or those people that say, I love vinyl, it sounds better. But then you got those people that are like, I don't get it, I'm still going to listen to Spotify or whatever. You're always going to have that. But now more people are remembering their childhood. You see that in the toy collector groups. People that couldn't afford certain toys when they were a kid are now spending big bucks to get this. So I think there's going to be a resurgence of that. I also think that we are probably going to see video stores come back to an extent, but I think it's going to be more like art installation type things, such as like Slashback Video was in LA, where they would set like little pop-ups. Maybe they don't even sell the tapes or rent. Like they probably won't even rent the tapes because it's just doesn't make sense from a money standpoint to rent tapes anymore with people not bringing them back. But like have them for sale, or have it like you walk in and it looks like a video store, but the tapes aren't for sale, but they've got other things that are for sale, like retro shirts, pins, stuff like that. You know, and it's more like I hate to use this term, but more like a clout thing. People will come in and take photos for Instagram, like, oh, I'm in the old video store. Look at me in front of these tapes and stuff like that. And that's totally cool because you're gonna get that. You know, I think they're gonna come back like that, especially after going to LA and seeing Slashback Video. They didn't like rent the tapes, but it looked like a video store in there, and you could buy shirts and replicas and stuff like that. Gotcha, because with how much tapes are right now, like, it's insane. Like, it would make no sense to rent this tape.
Oddly enough, we were just talking about like the inflation of tape pricing before you had hopped on, and it's just crazy because I was talking about at this point, like the only thing that I'm dying to have and like I would really just love to have in the collection is a Texas Chainsaw Wizard video copy. And there's 2 copies available for sale right now. One's a naked tape for it's $700, and then there's a graded sealed copy for $325,000.
It's crazy because like as much as like us as tape collectors and stuff, and I've been collecting tape since when I was a kid, but hardcore since I was since 1998. I was 14 years old. And my dad helped me build shelves that were floor to ceiling, and like all around my room. And I would have tapes, and I would literally alphabetize them and everything. So that was a great time to get tapes because they were super duper cheap, you know, 50 cents and stuff. But you know, now they're obviously more expensive. And like what I'm getting to is us as tape collectors that want to buy these and have these tapes, they're so expensive now, and that sucks for us. But on the flip side, these people that are charging this high amount and these people that are paying that high amount are in a way bringing back that resurgence.
No, I agree.
You
Right.
know, like because they don't see it as I love it. They see it as money. And more people are entering that community because they're like, oh, I can make money doing this. Which on the flip side, it sucks for us because we have to pay that amount. On the other side, it's bringing it back. So I mean, I kind of see good and bad.
Okay, and I think that's a really cool way to look at that. And another thing too that like to add on to that point is the fact is if you have more people entering it, you might have more people that could, you know, be dusting off boxes in their grandpa's attic and find all these fucking banger tapes, you know. So
Exactly,
that's more people to
100%.
get into the community. So yeah, I mean, hey, you know, more power to them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can get down with that. It makes me feel a little bit better hearing it that way. I like that. That's cool.
Of course, of course.
It's more eyes on the hobby, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and Bobby, I had another question for you as well. You know, I know in viewing your Instagram, you're an actor on the Shark Exorcist 2 film. One of the quick questions I had for you there, in comparison to acting and directing, right? You know, how does that difference come into play? Do you feel do you enjoy more of the creative control, or do you prefer kind of the guidance at hand with acting?
You know, I've got pros and cons on each, and I'll kind of explain them. So, if you're like the director and you're in charge, if you see something not working or something you don't like, you can stop it, you can change it. You know, on the flip side, however, if you're an actor and you're working for someone else, for example, Shark Exorcist, if I do something and I'm like, I personally didn't like the way that felt, or I didn't like how I did this. If you say that and then that person is like, no, I think it looks fine. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not saying
Right.
Donald did that with me or anything, but just as an example. But on the flip side, one of the pros of that is you've got a lot less pressure, man. You just come out there and do something and you're done.
Sure.
Like, you know, as a director, you know, you tell this person to act a certain way and they do it, say they do it absolutely perfect. Cool, their job's done. They have no more pressure. At this point, then you have the whole rest of the movie to do. You've got to make sure continuity. You've still got to edit. Like, there's still... So, I mean, it's good and bad. You know, you lose that creative control, which I really do like, but it's far less pressure. But they're both fun in their own aspects.
Yeah, no, that makes that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. And Caleb, I know you had a couple questions on that note too with the with Shark Exorcist. I'll let you roll on
dude,
that.
How was it working with fucking Donald Farmer, dude? That's insane. Like that's like, you know, he's got quite the reputation behind him and quite the filmography. So you know, how was that whole experience?
Oh man, it was amazing. So I'd say about 10 years ago, well, I guess it's 2022 almost. In 2010, I joined Facebook. And one of the first things I did, because I was like a tape collector and movie collector back then, was I would be like, hey, I wonder if Tim Ritter's on Facebook, or I wonder if Marcus Kosh is on Facebook, or Donald Farmer, or whatever. And I'd look them up and be like, oh, they've got a profile. They're like a real person that I can contact and be like, hey, I liked your movies, you know? So I added them. So I've been friends with them online and friendly with them online for a while. And I saw that he was, you know, getting ready to do Shark Exorcist 2. And I'm just a big fan of Donald Farmer. He literally, like I said earlier, I rented Demon Queen. I rented Cannibal Hookers, stuff like that. Yeah. Like he is a pivotal reason why I'm into this stuff. I'm doing my documentary in part because of this guy. You know, like I wouldn't be where I'm at today without Donald Farmer and Tim Ritter and these people. And he was getting ready to do Shark Exorcist 2, and I hit him up and I said, man, I will do anything. Like I'll hold a boom mic, I'll hold a light, I'll transport people to your set. I want to work with you because you are an important part of who I am today, you know? And he's like, I'd love to have you. Absolutely. I'll find something for you to do. He's like, I was like, cool. I said, you know, I'm not like the best actor, but I can do some acting too. He goes, you want to get killed by a shark? And I was I'm sorry, a nun. You want to get killed by a demon nun? And I was like, yeah. Absolutely, you know?
Sign me up.
Yeah, so it was like I had to drive like 5 hours. I literally drove 5 hours, did my scene, and then drove 5 hours back.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
like
amazing.
It was wild. But working with him, man, he is such a friendly guy. He is like, there's different kind of directors that I've met. Like there's the director that 100% takes your input and, you know, how do you think this should be? You know, and then there's the director that's like, this is how I wrote it in the script. Do it exactly like this. I don't want to see any kind. Donald is like, let's get everybody's ideas. Let's let everybody do their own thing, and let's make this a complete original custom make it feel right,
That's cool.
and
Right.
yeah, and I mean, such a nice guy. Like, because I was kind of geeking out when I met him because, like I said, he's like, for me anyway, he's like a hard celebrity to me, and
Yeah.
he just like immediately was like, I'm just me, like we're good, So like, great dude. Anybody in the entire world that has the opportunity to work with him, like, should do it because it's great. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure too, talking about like getting everybody's ideas and let's make this original film. I mean, it does have to take some of the pressure off too. I have to imagine on screen. Yeah.
Well, like a lot of times, like I'm not like a huge actor or anything like that. I haven't acted a ton, but like I'll read a script and I like where this is going, but me personally, those words or the way they said that doesn't sound like something I would say. So can I flip it and maybe say it like this? And so it feels more natural when I say it. Because like me, I'm somebody that I don't cuss a lot, for example. But if I read a script and there's like a ton of cussing, like it feels weird and forced if I do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, some people will be like, yeah, say it how you think you should say it and we'll see how it looks. And then there's some people are like, no, I need the character to act like this. And I'm not that good of a character. I'm not that good of an actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed to be a little bit comfortable. So
Sure. Well, you're a southern gentleman, Bobby. What can we say? Yeah,
I try.
Well, and that's also to kind of jump back here a second with the documentary. Did you notice anything between, and maybe this is just me coming from the East Coast, where clearly it's every other word out of our mouths is fuck, but. I'm curious, was there any differences between VHS stores in the South and kind of how they grew and closed versus the West Coast or even Northeast? Or was it all kind of was there really a lot of same threads?
There's a lot of the same threads. However, with the functionality and how they worked, they were like ridiculously dramatically different. So what I'm used to, small Southern town, it was convenience stores, little gas stations, like little grocery stores that rented these tapes. But then when I would go up north, I found, and even on the West Coast too, I found a lot of them were, fairly large, standalone brick and mortar style stores. And I'm like, wow, I had to rent a lot of my tapes from Cat Square Superette, for example, like a guy cutting meat right beside the tapes, it's a very, very Southern thing. And even the selection of tapes were like dramatically different. So like I would go into Cat Square Superette, for example, and they would have, and I don't know why, to this day I don't know why, but they had like the Howling movies are very prominent there. And then they would have like Faces of Death was like on the front wall for some reason, like where it would be hidden other places,
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I would go other places and they really put like the high budget stuff, like Van Damme, like Replicant and stuff like that, like up front. And like, I guess my gas station, they just put weird horror there. Like, and I don't know what, if there might not even been a reason behind it. Man, I just put it on the shelf, but it was just so weird to me that was the prominently displayed stuff.
Yeah.
And the style of rental. And what I mean by that is down here in the South, a lot of the video stores we went to, the shelves were not metal shelves. They were wooden shelves that the owner built. And Cat Square Superette and a few other video stores, they would, underneath each tape, they would get a hammer and a nail. And they would hammer it in so much so the nail's sticking out a little bit. And they'd have that little circle hang tag and with a number on it. And you would go and you would pull it off the nail and take that hang tag to them. And they would have like clear clamshells behind the store register. And they would match up the number and then, give you the tape. And keep the tag until it was returned. And they would write, like, I know people stole tapes for this place because there was no computer system. They would be like, oh, you're renting this? Okay, what's your name? They'd write it on, when you go to like a diner, that little paper they write your order in, it was that. They write your name and they'd be like, write your phone number down. All right, bring it back in 2 days or we're going to call you.
Wow.
I mean, you could just write a fake number down. You didn't have to give any ID or anything. But then when somebody brought it back, they would flip through that book and find their name, be like, okay, cool, you're not late. Or you're late, you owe me $1 or something.
Whoa, that's so interesting. I'd never.
It's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Ultimately, I don't think they even cared. If it didn't come back, they probably didn't even realize. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
and that's funny. It's sorry to cut you off there, Bobby.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna say too, especially with the films we get like 555 and things of that nature, especially in the South versus where you were mentioning there was The Howling, there was more mainstream videos. I wonder if it was sort of the necessity of economy too, right? I can't imagine those films were super expensive versus a mainstream film that came out.
So, what's funny is a good side note that I picked up over the documentary that I found out about. There was a video store near my house, this town called Lincoln. It's about 15 minutes away. There was a video store called Village Video. It was the one that had the tanning salon that I was talking about with my mom.
Okay.
I would go in, and I remember the first day I went in, my mom's over there tanning, and I go to the horror section. It's very small, like 12 tapes, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, this is a pretty big store, and they got 12 tapes. So I see the little beaded curtain, and the adult section. So I'm like 8 or 9 years old, and my mom's tanning, so I'm like, I want to pop my head in there. So I popped my head in, and I realized that not only was the adult films in there, the really gory cover horror movies they put in there, so that some kid didn't just walk by and see them. So I was like, oh my God, I got to go in here without being seen. When you're that age, you're like, I'm going to go to jail for this if I get caught. So
it's life or death here.
Yeah. So I like pop my head in, and I look, and then I step out, and I have like a mental image in my head of where the tapes are. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to run in, grab this, and run out. So that's where I got Cannibal Campout. I'd run in, I'd grab Cannibal Campout, and run back out. And I remember the first time that I rented a movie from that section was Cannibal Campout. And I thought when I put it up there, they were going to catch me. They're going to go, hey, this tape came out of the adult section. They didn't, obviously. Now I look back and they didn't care. Right. But I put it up there, and I'm just sitting there like, am I going to get caught? Am I going to get caught? And I didn't. So then I was like, cool, I can run in the adult closet, get these gory horror movies. But where this leads back to what we were talking about is I talked to Tim Ritter. I talked to Wally Kaz, who did 555. Over the last 10 years, I've been talking to these people, just not even related to the movie. I talked to John McBride, who did Cannibal Campout. A lot of times what they did was they filmed these things so cheap. They didn't have, if they got a distributor, cool, they would buy so many copies. They still had a ton. They would put them in the trunk of their car. They would go on like a 3,000-mile road trip or whatever and go to every video store they've seen, come in and be like, hey, would you like to buy a copy of my movie? And they would, sometimes buy a copy of them that way. And Tim Ritter tells a great story in his interview about going. It wasn't Truth or Dare, I don't think. It might have been Truth or Dare, I can't remember. But he went into a video store to sell it, and the guy literally made him sit beside him, and they watched the entire movie beside each other. And then he didn't like the movie. Yeah, so he sat there the whole time, then didn't sell a copy.
Wow.
But it's crazy. And some of the stories that we've got just about how certain tapes got into certain places is just like ridiculous. Some of the stuff they had to go through to get their tapes sold. It was insane.
That's so awesome.
Crazy.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this, but so where will this be? Where will listeners, myself included, because like I said, I'm a documentary fiend, where will we be able to view this? When do you have a release date on the documentary? What's that looking like?
Yep. So we hope to be complete. So December or Thanksgiving to Christmas, we're not doing anything because, with families and holidays and stuff like that. It's just, I don't feel right messaging people, be like, hey, will you take time away from your family and let me interview you for a day? I'll wait till after that. So as soon as January 1st hits, we're kicking into gear, finishing up our regional stuff that month. And then we're going to start editing. We hope to be done by end of March, April, and then it'll be complete finished product. If people that donated to the Indiegogo, they could have chose a perk like a DVD, VHS copy, that kind of thing. So they'll get the initial things. Then my buddy Justin, who is a producer on the project, has put forward a lot of the money for the Indiegogo. He's really good at sitting. His job basically is to sit down and get distribution for multiple things, not just movies. So he's going to get meetings set up and be kind of like my mouth while I'm sitting there and get these distribution deals, because ultimately that's what we want. I want to sell this finished product to a distribution company, and then it's theirs. I make enough money to pay some bills and then fund the next one. Because the next idea, I got these crazy messages that blew my mind from people in another country. Ireland video stores, mom and pop, Korean video stores that are still in the jungle. The jungle grew around a video store and they just left it and moved.
What?
Yeah. So
Whoa.
I'm like, there's mom and pop stores in Mexico, Ireland, Korea. Some of them are still standing and just grown over with vines. And the guy from Korea is like, I can get you in there. We can just go through the jungle. I'll guide you through the jungle. We'll tear the vines off and go in there. And I'm like, whoa, this is an amazing idea here. Okay. That's what I want to do. I want to pick 4 locations. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go to Ireland, Germany, and Korea. Those are the ones. And I want to do like abroad, like, you know, mom and pop's abroad. And because like one cool thing about Germany is their rating system was like ridiculous. Some of the horror movies that like their Tim Ritters and their Donald Farmers and their regional cheap shot on video stuff, like, you know, a lot of people know Burning Moon and stuff like that. It's like ridiculously violent, like horror stuff. So like their video scene was like totally different. So I like want to go find out about this. So that's what I want to do. I want to get a distributor to buy this. Then it's theirs. I get enough money to fund this next one and pay a couple bills. And then they put it out on DVD. If that fails, I've got like 3 ends on streaming. We'll have it streaming. So I mean that's no problem. But preferably distribution. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome, man. That's awesome. And you know what's cool about the global thing is I think, especially when you talk about pop culture, the United States is sort of always considered the mecca of pop culture too. And you don't think about what went on at that same time globally.
They were doing the same thing, you know, like different avenues and different ways. But yeah, like it's crazy to think that in 1988 there was a kid going in a video store looking at the horror section in Thailand or something like. It's crazy, you know. And then a lot of these movies were dubbed over there, and they went on a completely different. Like the dubbing was wrong, like, and they went on completely different stories and lines of dialogue and stuff.
Wow.
Donald Farmer was telling me, you know, his movies have ended up in other countries that he didn't even realize, and then they dubbed them, and they didn't know all of our English, so they kind of said what they thought they were saying and stuff like that. So
it's amazing.
It's just to me, I just, as a fan of horror and video stores and all this, it's just amazing. Like I want to see that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And who knows, you might find some like sweet, if you do end up getting into those overgrown stores, you might find some sweet deals in there that
maybe
they lasted test of time, right? Who knows?
We have this one listener from Mexico, Ben Diaz, and he like constantly messages us. I've bought a few tapes off of him, and it's just like random films that are like horror bangers down there. And there's a shark film too. I forget what the hell it's called. It's in Spanish, but it is crazy to think about like people were having their own experiences within this community, like literally on the other side of the world. And
yeah, it's amazing. I can't imagine the stories we could hear, because some of the stories that I heard from mom and pop are like insane. Like, not to give everything away, but one, I'll give you a little snippet. So we found a lot of like very controversial things that happened because of videos. One being fronts for drugs that they sold steroids to police officers in the neighborhood, and the tapes were just there as a front. Another one, which is great. I don't know if you know Henrik Kuto. He's a director and writer. He did like Babysitter Massacre, Scare Waves, stuff like that. Yeah. We sat with him, and we're just talking. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then I used to go to that one video store, the one where the guy killed the people. And I was like, whoa, back up. What? You know, and he's like, oh, my friend who runs Blood Scream Comics, maybe I can get him over. He knows the whole story. I was like, please call him. He comes over. And I won't go into too much detail, but apparently a guy murdered people, then like escaped, and then moved to, I think it was Pennsylvania, and opened a video store. Changed his name, ran a video store for several years. Then America's Most Wanted did an episode on him, and they all busted in the middle of the video store and arrested this guy for murder. Yeah. So I'm like, man, video stores are wild, man.
Holy shit.
It's like the Wild West in the video. Well, it's funny too, because I mean, we've heard about that locally with a pizza store where they were like fronting. I don't know if in Elmer, they had the same thing where they were selling like cocaine and
they were pushing weight out the back, and the pizza was just the front. And the pizza was good, so I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, there was probably drugs in it. Who knows? You know,
probably.
Probably bringing this back. We didn't even know it. But that's talk about a crazy story, and especially that he murdered somebody in a VHS store and then opened a VHS store.
No. So he didn't murder somebody in a video store. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when he was telling me, he said murdered somebody in a video store, and I was like, what? But the story ended up being that he murdered somebody, and then he went and changed his name and opened a video store, and then he ran the very successful video store, apparently.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be cool to even like visit that place too. You know, I'm sure.
Apparently, it's not. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. It is there because we actually went there and filmed, but it's just an empty place at this point. So we actually filmed the guy Matt from Bloodscream Comics in front of the store telling us like the story and
Nice.
you know, kind of like pointing in the window, like, okay, here's where all the videos are set up. Here's where the horror section was. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of times that's what it was. It was just empty stores we went to, but it was great. We would be able to get somebody from the community that remembered go in there, and they would almost like stand there and be like, wow, I can remember. Here's where we used to go check out. Here's where the horror section was over here. And it almost gives you like a mental image in this shutdown story, you know?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's really cool.
That is very,
That's so
that's
sick.
awesome. Yeah. When talk about the cool backdrop, you mean you like, it's almost, if somebody just kind of like jumped in on a documentary, they'd be like, is this like an ID discovery?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's
because we actually have been able, we got the rights to be able to air clips from the America's Most Wanted episode.
wow.
Apparently America's Most Wanted just doesn't care like if you
Nice.
use their clips. So
What the
I'm
hell was
like,
that guy's
cool.
name? I can't remember the guy's name.
John Walsh.
There it is, John Walsh. That was
Yeah.
yeah.
John
Yeah.
Walsh. So.
That's awesome. Well, I
Toss it
gotta,
in.
yeah. Well, I gotta say, Bobby, I'm super stoked for it to come out, man. I think,
Thank you, man.
yeah, that there's just,
Likewise. Yeah.
the wave
Thank
of
you.
nostalgia that's gonna hit too, I think is gonna be awesome. And talking about going through abandoned buildings, I've done it a couple times where like things of my past have been that are no longer. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I actually get like a physical wave of like lightheadedness when I go into some places.
Oh
where
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
No, I do too, man. I
Oh.
did several times over this. And like as weird as it sounds, that happened to me just the other day. I was just flipping through YouTube and I found that they have compilations of commercials, you know, from certain years.
Oh.
So I was just like watching commercials from like 1993, and I'm like, man, it kind of hits you in the chest. You're like, I remember
Yeah.
watching this on TV when I was a kid. You know, it's wild. It's like
Dude,
a time machine. You know.
dude, you literally hit a weird niche that me and my wife do, where if we get like a certain level of drunk, we're like, let's put on like 2000s commercials and like see what comes in, and you're just like, wow, I remember. I remember when I first saw
Oh, yeah.
that. Yeah, it's
Dude,
just,
I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys do edibles or anything, but if you do, and then you watch the commercials, man, you feel like a kid again. You know what I'm saying?
What a ride.
It is a ride,
yeah.
dude. You have to snap yourself out of it because you think you're in 1993 again, man. You're like, whoa, where am I?
right. Take a pause.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
getting too real.
That's awesome, man.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's cool. That's cool. Well, no, dude. I mean, that's I'm super stoked for it. You know,
Yeah,
definitely.
no, definitely very hyped for it. So listen, let's let you have the floor for a second to plug where the listeners can find you and in the future be able to find the doc. If they can contribute and support now, where do we
Yeah.
send them? All that. So the floor is yours.
Sure, man. So contributions. I mean, if anybody wants to pitch toward it, absolutely great. The Indiegogo's closed, but I mean, if anybody, especially like if anybody's got pictures or videos of old video stores, we could really use those. If they've got, you know, even a location around North Carolina, because I don't think we have the money to fly or drive far, but if like South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, stuff like that, if anybody's got an old video store, or has some amazing stories, or and like we met one guy that has all his stuff from his video store in a storage unit. So he's gonna like, we're gonna film him. He's gonna be pulling stuff out and like recounting memories as we go through it. You know, if they
Wow.
got stuff like that, that would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's very easy. Mom, the letter N, pop doc.com. If they go to that, it's literally a link tree, and it's got all of our links: IMDb, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that. We've got a ton of people in the documentary: Donald Farmer, Tim Ritter, Brad Sykes, Lloyd Kaufman. We've got a few other people that I can't release their names yet because
Okay.
they literally had us. They're like bigger people, and they made us sign an NDA saying you can't say we're in this movie until the movie comes out. I'm like, okay. Well,
Yeah.
let me put it this way: it wasn't those people; it was their reps or whatever.
Right,
Those people were like,
sure.
I don't care, but the reps
Sure.
were like, no, you know. So I'm like, oh crap, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, so check out momandpopdoc.com. All the links are on there. I mean, it links to my IMDb. Shark Exorcist 2 should be done filming soon. Donald's super fast with getting editing done, so I'd say in the next couple months that should be available. It'll
awesome.
probably be available. I know Shark Exorcist 1 was available through SRS Cinema from Ron Bunk. I'm assuming probably the same, or Wild Eye releasing, one of the other two. But you'll be able to see me get killed. You'll be able to see my very subpar acting. And yeah, so that I've got a couple other projects down the pipeline, I actually get to play a really cool role in a locally produced. They're going to do an anthology of stories, and one of the first stories is the working title is The TikTok Killer. That's probably not going to be the end title, but it revolves around a killer and a TikTok and a good twist ending. I get to play probably the biggest role I've ever played. It's like when he cast me in the role, he's like, "You're perfect for it." He sent me the script, and I'm like, "There's a lot of lines in this, dude." Like, I'm used to just getting killed, you know.
Right, I gotta remember stuff.
He's like, "Oh, you'll get killed," but you know, I'm like the second most lines in the whole like thing, so I'm like,
wow, nice,
stressing about it. Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be really fun too. So that there's a few projects that I'm trying to get on. There's a really cool. I'm gonna give them a free plug here. There's a movie called Wolf Hollow that is gonna start shooting next year, and he put up a casting thing and did the script, and it's like I don't want to say it's like Werewolves Within, but it's like a werewolf like horror comedy. And it looks really cool, and I'm trying to play a werewolf in a movie. That's what I want to do. I'm
talking about that film last week.
I just watched Werewolves Within. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was a good. It was a little all over, but anything horror comedy. I mean, it's.
And
it hits me in the
I
heart,
love that AT&T girl, man.
Oh,
like, I love that.
Seriously.
Dude, like, anything. But yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, man, yeah, but yeah, like werewolf movies. I love werewolf movies, so I'm trying to play a werewolf in this movie. And I told him, I said, dude, I'm kind of a big dude. Like I'm 6'5", like 260 pounds. Like I could put me in a werewolf suit, dude. You know, so I don't know if that'll happen, but maybe he'll hear this and he'll be like, man, he really does like it.
Fingers crossed for you.
Listen, put him in a werewolf costume. Do it.
That's it.
I want to do it, man. Yeah, I've got long hair. Use what I got now. You know, I don't know.
Right, it's all natural. You don't even
there you go.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I'm trying to get into that. I've got some really cool stuff working out next year. So, but right now, I guess, you know, really focusing on the documentary, wrapping it up, and getting Shark Exorcist 2 wrapped up. I've been doing a little bit of film camera work with him too, other than acting in it. So just helping out any way I can, because it's just a dream to work with Donald. But yeah, I guess check me out on Facebook, Bobby Canipe Jr. on Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it, so I won't even plug it. And momandpopdoc.com. I'm sorry that was really long-winded.
No, listen, that's what we want. We want the big you know, all of it. We wanted all of it.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Listen, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said, and Tyler said, you know, we're extremely stoked, especially, we're equally stoked, but Tyler is like the documentary, like guru aficionado. So
me too, man.
His bread and butter. So
absolutely.
We are absolutely stoked for that to come out, as well as, you know, seeing you get killed by a demon nun in Shark Exorcist 2. And you know, all your future endeavors. We are stoked for you, and we're stoked to have you on and talk about it.
Thank you, man, for having me. Like, I really appreciate it. Like, I've been listening to you guys since you started, because Caleb, I know you from the VHS groups, and when you started posting them, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I've been listening, man. I've been there. Oh, and it's Canipe. Tyler was right.
Yeah, Tyler was right. Yeah,
that's why I shouted out my honors English from 11th and 12th grade for that. So
there you go.
Thanks, Miss McCauley. Shout out, Miss McCauley. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Well, listen, Bobby, we're gonna have you on again in the future. We'll, you know, next time we'll have you on, we'll hopefully be reviewing and talking over the doc or Shark Exorcist 2, and
man,
do some fucking crazy shit.
Yeah,
and
or any other films too. If you got any recommendations for us, man, shoot them our way, because we're always looking for stuff to watch and review and bullshit about. So, you know.
Oh, we'll do.
Awesome.
Yeah, buddy. Well, until next time, buddy. We'll catch you later. Thanks for so much for coming on.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Dude. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Where the fuck is this button? Hold on. Where the hell is this? Let's see. 1 second. There we go. All right. Well, that was awesome. We had Bobby Canipe on the show to talk about some rad shit. That was great. And Ty Guy, listen, we gotta talk about something really important.
Really important. What is it?
We need something to watch for next week, dude.
And well, listen. So we first of all, let's just take a second and say how fucking cool is Bobby. I've never met him. That was the first time I've met him.
Yeah.
I could talk to that dude for probably 6 or 7 hours. Easily. I feel like that guy's got endless stories.
Without a doubt.
Stories. And we just kind of cut Bobby off there. But listen, dude, Bobby, if you go back and listen to this episode, man, I'll DM you too. Any recommendations you have, would love to pick your brain on stuff. you'll be hearing from me soon, in a good
Yeah.
way. That sounds
yeah.
kind of foreboding, but no, I think two big things. One, the introduction next episode of Kate's Corner.
Yes,
that'll be
okay. This is going to be a very. I'm stoked for it. I'm excited. And you know what? We're also going to have Tyler's segment where he's going to talk about some true crime shit, and there's going to be just some more stuff added on this week. You know, we wanted to sit down with Bobby and chat about his endeavors in the world of horror. And for next week, we have we have new stuff coming, baby. It's a new palette. I'm feeling good about it.
We're
Kate's
changing
Corner,
flavors.
Tyler's fucking true crime doc shit. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be so sick.
We'll have an official name for next.
Yeah, there'll be a proper name next.
Yeah,
week.
I'll think. I got a week. Give me a week.
Yeah.
But I think for next episode for a film.
Listen, do we want to do something a little newer?
We could do a little newer if we'd like.
A little newer. Do we want to do maybe something that I've been wanting to see, like the new VHS film?
Oh, true.
94, something like that, like in the vein of that.
I was gonna say, so I would like to do it. It's I mean, it is, to some degree, I think certainly a probably a more mainstream film, but I don't think it gets talked about a lot, quite frankly, in the circles. I don't know if you've seen it. Joyride.
Joyride. I've seen that cover. Hold on.
Dude, big names. R.I.P. one of them.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Joyride. Let's see. Not coffee. Joyride Coffee from 2001. Oh yeah, we got Paul Walker. R.I.P.
Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn. Yeah.
Dude, great fucking on the road. It's a la another movie. You know what? I don't know. You tell me. I just watched it. And I think Trox just shit on it. But I would love to review Pumpkinhead.
Oh.
That's I love that movie. Trox, I don't agree, but hey.
All right, that's it. Listen, all you lovely listeners out there. Next week we're watching fucking Pumpkinhead. 1988. Pumpkinhead.
We just watched it too. Sad.
It's that time of year, baby. It's the pumpkin season, so it makes the sense.
You guys
right?
It makes the sense. It makes the sense. It makes the sense. It makes all the sense. Don't watch out for your local pumpkin patches because you don't know what you're gonna dig up.
Fucking Stan Winston fucking classic here, baby. We're about to rock it, dude. Stan Winston has done some absolutely insane films, dude. I mean, like we're talking Terminator 2, T2, baby, Jurassic Park, Aliens, like Edward Scissorhands, Scissorhands. Fuck, that's always a fuck one. It's always a fuck one to say.
Old Sizzy. But check it out. So there's another film too,
baby.
Pumpkinhead for next week. But there's another film, and I'm gonna pull it up here really quickly that I think we should at some point review. And again, it is talked about in horror lore. It's definitely what I would consider mainstream too. But it has Lance Henriksen in it, and it's called I believe it's called Near Dark.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've not seen that film, but it's a vampire meets Western.
Now,
film.
Are we talking so there's three. So there's one with fucking Bill Paxton.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
That's 87. Yeah. I haven't
87.
seen that, but I've heard good things, and I feel like the Bad Taste Boys reviewed it or at least talked about it in a good vein.
Okay.
And it's interesting because Bill Paxton has definitely done like some interesting roles because obviously you're used to seeing I'm used to seeing Bill Paxton in Twister. That's where I first saw him.
And Tombstone. He's in Tombstone too.
Oh, he's also in Tombstone. And then Apollo 13. Like I'm talking like big boys. He was also in Aliens, but like he's got a background in horror for sure.
He does.
But,
and Near Dark, apparently, I've never seen it, but I've always heard good things. I've never heard a bad review. Quite honestly,
he's pretty fucking crazy in it. But well, listen, we're gonna hit you with the trailer for Pumpkinhead, the OG, and we're gonna watch that next week. So enjoy the trailer.
I'm stoked.
And we're back.
Yeah, just like that. Wow. Wow, that trailer went fast. That's crazy.
So quick.
So quick. Well, as we usually end these things, buddy. How about you are, I don't know, dude, you might be the anchor. If we were like a news station, you're like the anchor. You're like the Ron Swanson of this podcast when it comes to plugging things.
We're getting into our shoes, you know.
That's it.
And like honestly, your interviewing skills are, you know, very, very good. And
thank you.
You know how to hit the numbers, you know how to keep the conversation flowing. That interview was fueled by Tyler's wittiness and questionnaire.
That's it. That's it. You're welcome, everybody.
But listen,
you're welcome.
Here's what you're gonna do. You know, you're obviously listening to this right now. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell a friend. You got a friend that's in the podcast. You're talking to fucking Johnny Sue last week, and he was like, "Yeah, I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast." But Johnny Sue also likes, you know, crazy fucked up horror movies. Point him our way. Share our page. Share our Instagram or whatever. Okay. Let's say you hate podcasts. You're not listening to this right now. I don't even know where I'm gonna go with that. That was just I don't even know what the fuck I was gonna say there, because that wouldn't have made sense.
No, I like that.
Listen, you're into podcasts, you like podcasts. If that's your thing, you like horror, you know, tell a friend. All right. And if you phone a friend, you know, phone a friend, call them in. And rate, review, subscribe. All that shit does help. We say it every episode, and it's because it's true. It does. It works. And the big thing too is that what's going to help you rate, review, subscribe quickly is a Camp Crystal Latte delicious brew.
That's it.
So make sure you get over to their website. They have a whole bunch of horror themed coffee that is just, oh God, it's just
delectable.
It's delectable. And it fueled today's podcast.
Yeah.
And this episode was brought to you by Camp Crystal Latte. So go to their website, campcrystallatte.com. Use code TapeHead at checkout for 15% off your order. And with that being said, I've been sitting here this entire time, just basking in the glory of what is lit behind me. And you know what that is? It's a delicious, I guess you could say candle's delicious. It's delicious to my nostrils. All right.
Well, listen,
it flares them nicely.
I've always said that pumpkin spice
and everything nice.
Taste. Yeah. Well, pumpkin spice to me tastes like a candle smells. So in my opinion, yes, delicious. I second that.
WikiCandleCo.com.
There we go.
There it is. For this week, we are talking Pumpkinhead from 1987. Or next week. Dude, this coffee's got me juicing, baby. I'm gonna let you know right now. All right, I got fucking sidewinded.
Dude,
for a hot second.
Camp Crystal Latte's putting LSD, microdoses of LSD.
Holy shit! All right, you're gonna go to wikicandlecode.com. All right, and you're gonna use code TapeHead15 for 15% off your order. All right, she makes all the fucking finest scents, and they're all horror themed.
It's my mom approves. It's mom approved.
Mom approved. All right. So listen, guys, God damn, dude. I gotta go. All right.
You're gonna start. Did you see that? Did you see that person in the court? No, I didn't.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, we're gonna catch you next week for Pumpkinhead. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. And Ty Guy, till next time, buddy.
Till next time.
See ya.
Deuces.